Welcome to Bridging Generations in Sales and Outreach. I'm your host, Butch Nicholson, and this is the show where we learn to find the buyers where they are, and we have to meet them there. Uh, One of the things that we really believe that's important, and we're going to talk about that today, is who you know is important, and that'll help you build a pipeline. But who knows you is more important, and that's how you get sales opportunities uh, and building that sales pipeline. So we say generate bridging generations. So I am 70 years old, and my guest today, Killeen, is how old?
I'm 23 years old.
23. So this is where we can share that bridging, because Kristen and I have learned to work really well together. So Kristen, first tell me, I know your dad built the Center for Peak Performance,
Yes, sir.
and that your Cairo stretch, which is what he does for me, is under that, and then there's Thrive somewhere. So
Yeah.
just I don't really understand all that.
Yeah.
Tell me how that works.
Yeah, great question. So with like what we have, how I always describe it is almost like visualize that as a tree trunk. So the tree trunk is the center where we are, the building, the center for peak performance. So the whole goal of the Center for Peak Performance is to optimize your human potential, right? So we want you to be the best that you can be. And the whole, like message, the motto is like everyone's an athlete in the game of life, and you can't live the game of life and not get injured, right? So Cairo Stretch, my company, I'm one of those branches. So I'm one of the branches. We have physical therapy, that's a branch. We have massage therapy, that's a branch. Then we have the chiropractic lane or a chiropractic branch. And then, my dad, my father, Dr. Jim Killeen, he recently took on a brand new endeavor. And this kind of brings it all into one piece. But now we have kind of East meets West medicine. So that over there is called Thrive. And Thrive, its goal once again is to maximize human potential. Or human performance rather. So the potential, we want to tap into your potential and we want to get you to peak performance. So we have cryotherapy over there. We have red light therapy. We have IV therapy. We have a machine called the Hocket. Do you know about the Hocket?
I don't know about that.
Okay, so the Hocket is actually from South Africa, and it was originally designed for Olympic athletes. And what I've come to find out through my research and through other people speaking is it is the most powerful detoxification tool on planet Earth.
Is that the one that does like 10 or 12 different things?
Yeah. So it does 10 different therapies in a 30-minute session, and the thing is great. I've done it twice. My first session was definitely different from my second. And for people who have been doing it very consistently, they say every session is different, but they always walk away feeling amazing. When I did my first session, I felt, it sounds funny, it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm really not. I felt like I was a superhero. I felt like, like when Superman gets damaged and he goes in like his chamber and then he gets powered up, like that's what I felt like. Couldn't really tell you why, but I could tell you that the only thing different that happened is I went into that Hocket. So we also have red light therapy over there. So that is the center for peak performance. And then, like I said, what I do and what you know so well is the Cairo Stretch.
Yeah. So I started. I guess I've known your dad for probably 7, 8 years, and everybody. I shouldn't say everybody, but he's well known in the community. He's like the guy to go to, which is actually what we want to help our clients build. That's about who knows you. Uh, but as you know, I was on like a 3-year journey to get better, and actually had a spinal stimulator implanted in my back. And your dad said, you need to get some stretch therapy. And so when somebody like me came, like when I first came in, because I don't remember,
but wow. I remember.
I'm this old guy who used to be a good athlete and used to be a fairly good golfer, and I was like struggling to walk. So tell me, when that happens, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I see people anywhere, like I have as young as a 12-year-old girl who plays soccer, and she's like, she has aspirations to go pro. Her parents know like, yo, she's really good. Like in our conversations, never seen her play, but it's one of those things. It's like the 12-year-old kid knows, and everybody around her knows, like, yo, she's got something special. So as young as that, all the way up to my old man, So your question was like, if I can't even walk and
I won't tell him you called him an old
yeah,
man.
no. But I'm just saying, like, my old man, like he could be 40, but he's still my old man. He's like he's my dad. That's right. So your question, hey, like if someone can't walk like me, Butch, like when I came in, I couldn't, I was just trying to, be able to walk from here to there without, immediate pain. How do I handle you? So what I do and what I try to emphasize to people, right, is like, I mean, you said you can't really remember, but like I'll just kind of like refresh your memory a little bit. But when you came in, I was like, hey, Butch, I want you to know that, okay, pun intended, but pun like not intended. Every body is different, right? So I said, I'm not going to do the same thing for you that I just had, with the person that came in before you and the person who's coming after you, because you're different, like you have different issues and different goals. So what I try to do with you is just figure out like why, first and foremost, why you wanted to come see me, second, where you wanted to go. And that's kind of what we did. So what I found out with you very early on is that you had signs of early rigor mortis. Yeah. So your body was stiff, right? And like our bodies get stiff. And so I've been doing this 3 years now. And when I originally started, I kind of like learned, like by the book, that kind of thing. Like so, I learned, I replicated, I went to, try other places, and I saw I just replicated kind of what they did, but then put my twist with my personality, like my twist, right? But what I came to find out is that focusing on just the muscle stretching leaves an open gap that stretching can't fill. What is that open gap? Assisted mobility work. So that's what makes my therapy, ChiroStretch, different than like, what everyone's offering right now, because I focus more on the mobility aspect than actual like muscle stretching a lot of the time. So for someone like you, if you were to come in and I just did stretching with you, you'd benefit. You'd probably get better. You're not going to get worse. But I would be selling you so short because your problem is a stiffness issue. Like you don't get rid of stiffness necessarily by lengthening your muscle fibers, stretching, right? You get rid of the stiffness through that mobility work. So week after week, you start to get more mobile, and that's what we focus on. So to answer your question, when you came in, I thought, I don't know if I can help this guy. No, but I knew, and I just knew what we had to do, and it was just going to be that assisted mobility work.
So I got to ask you some questions that I've never really thought about asking you before. So I know that a big part of how business gets to the Center for Peak Performance, uh, and it's pretty much your dad's reputation. It's word of mouth, but what you're doing is different. So you've got to address that. Uh, but I also know that in a previous life, you had a huge following on Instagram, and tell me more about that, because we need to do that again for you.
Yeah.
If you did it once, you can do it again.
Yeah, it's very true. So it was YouTube actually.
YouTube.
So and arguably through my experience and like just through the grapevine, YouTube is arguably the hardest platform to amass a following on. So what is that following? I amassed within a 2-year period. I went from 0 subscribers, and to date now, last time I checked, like I'm just under 120,000 subscribers. And then last time I checked, like I've amassed across the portfolio of videos that I have, like over 150 million views. So that was within 2 years. And then what did I do? I stopped. Ask me why I stopped.
Why'd you stop?
That's a great question. I stopped, not to like totally go, like all around, but that channel I started spontaneously with a couple like of the vlogs or the vlogs, where you have the camera and you're like, hey, like, what's up, guys? Today we're gonna go, to the waterfall. And then I did one for July 4th. And then believe it or not, I was invited to a birthday party. And I went to that birthday party, and it was a paintball birthday party, like with paintball guns. And then I fell in love with the game, like totally just fell in love with the game. And then I said, yo, like, what if I put like a GoPro on my head? So I actually didn't first get the mount and do it all professional. I just duct taped a GoPro to the side of the paintball gun and ran around that day with the paintball gun. I said, "Whoa, this is like really cool. Like, I wonder if people would want to see this." So you know, I posted the first video on YouTube, got like a couple hundred views, and it was probably me watching it a couple hundred times. You know, but all jokes aside, yeah. So that happened, and then it kind of picked up some momentum. And this is a really cool like little side story within the niche. Is there was a YouTuber, the biggest paintball YouTuber in like the whole space. Like he's recognized as like, yeah, he's like the guy. Similar to how you said like my dad, Dr. Jim, like he's the guy. Like people know, hey, if you're hurt, you know, like go, we're gonna get you better, kind of thing. So instead of, and not that there's anything wrong with the alternative, but instead of going up to him and saying like, hey, his name's Matt, and saying like, but his handle is, you know, like a little bit different. But I said, hey Matt, like, I said, you like, is now a bad time? And he was like, no, man, like, what's up? And I actually had the opportunity, like, we crossed paths already. I had been at the field today, that day, the paintball field, and I was about to say something to him, but what I realized in my head in that like little moment is like, oh wait, he's airing up his paintball gun and he's about to run to the woods. Like he's not. It would be not the most optimal time to have like a conversation like I wanted to have. So I just waited. And then, you know, they came back from the field, he sits down, I saw him and I was like, I had that little, you know, like, do I go like talk to him or like, do I not? And I would have missed out on the opportunity. So like bridging that gap, right? I went up to him and I asked him, is now a bad time? He's like, no, man, what's up? And I said, dude, just like curious. Like I recently started my YouTube channel. Like I see like what you've done. Like, how did you do it? And then that was a whole nother conversation.
You know, one thing that reminds me of, and this is a little different about than the subject we're talking about today, but I believe it's the same. Uh, my experience has been people are uh, a lot more willing to help you than you are willing to ask for help.
Mm, wow. That's like, I'm gonna write I'm gonna write that one down. Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Um, so when I first met you, you were all into paintball. I mean,
Mhm.
we would if you were stretching me on a Saturday, you were like just can't wait to get done so you could get out the door
Paintball,
for
yeah.
paintball. And then you fell in love with pickleball.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my. So your question was like, why did you stop the YouTube stuff? And I didn't like intentionally like, all right, like I'm stopping YouTube. It kind of just like happened that way. You know, the last video that I posted. Um, so I do the long form content and the short form content. So I mentioned like 150 million like total views. The majority of those views are from my short form content. So I would say like I definitely like became okay, you know, at the short form game. So
But let me interrupt you for a
yeah,
second
no
there with
worries.
the short. Uh, I believe, and it's proven true for me, and,
Hmm.
and you're validating that. Initially, to become visible,
Hmm.
to like you said, this Matt guy, he was the guy. You
Hmm.
know, to start wanting to be the guy or the woman.
Hmm.
Uh, that short term works best. I mean, short form works
Hmm.
best. You know, in the business world, that might be LinkedIn,
Hmm.
it might be Facebook. In the pickleball world, I don't know, but in the
Hmm.
pickleball world, it may be YouTube and Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
But I think that short form gets to the attention, and then it gets to memory,
Hmm.
and then if they see you somewhere else,
Oh, that's that
that pops
guy.
into
Yeah.
their head.
Yeah. So my take on that is how I've described it to people that I've worked with, and like I love that you said, you know, what was it? If you could say it again, you're like people are much more willing to like give you help than you
Than
are
you
to
are to
ask.
ask for
Yeah,
it.
like that's amazing. For the people who have asked, like, yo, like, how did you like do it? Like, you know, like they'll. Anyways, so my take on like the short form and the long form is like short form is really good for exposure. So a lot of times what happens is like with short form content, the algorithm, whatever algorithm it is, it's like yes, YouTube is different from Instagram, from LinkedIn, but it's all the same kind of principle. What they'll do is they'll seed it to like initial audience, and because it's a short video, it doesn't require the buyer, the viewer, whoever it is, to like invest a lot into like watching it. So if they watch halfway through, then the algorithm says, okay, boom, they seed it to a couple more people. So you end up getting a lot of exposure. But what I have realized is the short form is good for exposure, but the long form is better for like the die hard, like the people who like really want to, like follow you. They really like you. They it doesn't matter the content, they're watching for you. The short form kind of just comes across their feed, and it's a foot in the door, kind of like what you're saying. Like it's good, like people see it, they see the repetitiveness, and then they go look at your long form. And then the long form is better for like conversion, in my experience.
Yeah, that makes sense because they can learn more from that. Well, and one of the things that I think people lose sight of
Mm-hmm.
is what it doesn't matter what it is, LinkedIn, YouTube, to TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Getting views is not really difficult
Mm-hmm.
if you know kind of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the conversion that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And in what we're talking about today is that. I mean, TikTok's great,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube's great, LinkedIn's great. Uh, but if you're what what I want people to understand is it's converting that into whatever it is you want to convert it into.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want them to sell something?
Mm-hmm.
We're going through an election time here in the local area. Do you want them to vote for you?
Yeah.
Whatever you want that conversion to be. Most people that listen to me are salespeople. They want
Mm-hmm.
to convert it into sales.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so when you were doing your YouTube page, uh, and I got on you because you didn't convert a whole lot, but uh, how would you tell people to get to the point of converting and how to convert that?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a moment for me to be like totally transparent. I look back and like, of course, like I'm not thinking like, oh man, like I wish I could go back and like change these things, because I'm a firm believer that if anything, and I mean anything, changed along the line, like we wouldn't be here,
Yeah.
right here today, even having this conversation. So I'll frame it as, if I had the knowledge that I have now and I could just go back to that time, I realized that I left like not only money on the table, but like opportunity. And what is opportunity? A lot of times with opportunity comes, like cash flow. Uh, but what I do know now is that what worked for me the best, like as far as converting, was just asking. So like what you said earlier, like the point of like people are way more willing to give like help than you are willing to ask. So I just didn't ask. Like I didn't set up systems that like would convert, but I had people all the time. Like I teased like in my videos, hey, merch coming soon. I had comments like, hey, like where's the merch, this, that, and the other. I actually wore my merch like, what do you call it, prototype, but it's a shirt for the first time since originally having it in production yesterday. Just like saw it in my closet, I was like, oh dang, that's like a cool shirt, put it on. But yeah, I think like your question was like, what is the best way to convert? I would say like asking first and foremost, but then like, what are you asking for? So like for me, it was like merch, right? That was an opportunity. But also, if I were to go back now, um, I became pretty good at paintball, right? Like I had a skill and I became better and better. And people recognized me as like, dang, like that guy's like really good. Like, was I pro level? No. If I stayed on that path, do I think that I could be pro? Without a shadow of a doubt, right?
There's pro
There's pro
paintball.
paintball. Yes. Great question. Like there's pro paintball. Yeah, there's pro everything, right?
Yeah, maybe a 70-year-old doesn't understand why.
Yeah, right. So paintball is definitely one of those niche sports. I think that's why like I fell in love with it too. But going back to like the principles are always the same. Like like if I had a following, it doesn't matter the niche. If I never asked like for, hey guys, will you go support me? Like I just dropped my. But I feel like people, what I've realized in life, just from like talking about like fundamental, like from a human nature standpoint, like people are wanting to be like a part of something, right? So like
I agree with that.
I gave people an avenue to be a part of what I call the Shot Squad. So my YouTube handle is Shot by CJK. And then just one day it was like popped in my head, the Shot Squad, like that's what it's going to be. So people I had stickers. So that's one of the things that I did for like conversion in a
So,
way.
well, that made you visible.
Visible.
Somebody saw that.
Yeah, so I would give these stickers that said Shot Squad and had my YouTube handle, and I would give them out at the field, whatever people would ask. Yeah.
So you did everything but make money.
I did everything. Well, okay. Let me time out for a second. I didn't make additional money, but I did make money off of the YouTube AdSense. But what I've realized when talking to different YouTubers, like highly successful YouTubers, they've said that like the most minuscule amount of money that they make is from the Google AdSense. Like that's not where the money is made. It's made in like the brands reaching out to you. Hey, will you use our product? I didn't capitalize on any of that, but I only knew what I knew. But what I will say to end it on a high note is when I was a kid, I would always see YouTubers, right? Like I would like watch YouTube. I loved watching YouTube, that stuff. Like watching these YouTubers. They would have this plaque in the back of their screen. And it's like obviously strategic, you know, like it's like a thing on the wall. And I'm like, dang, that is so cool. And you get this plaque by either getting 100,000 subscribers, then 1,000,000 subscribers, then 10 million. So I always saw this 100,000 subscriber one. I was like, man, I want one of those so bad. And just a quick little side note, I started streaming using my like image, whatever, video games, that kind of thing. I streamed. And then I thought like, this is the gig. This is what's going to happen. And anyways, that fell off. I didn't continue to do it. Full circle, years and years down the line, I ended up getting that plaque on my wall, reached the 100,000 subscriber mark. They sent me the plaque. And then I was like, all right, I accomplished it. But looking back, I'm like, why did I stop? And now the question is, could I pick it back up? Could I light the fire again and continue?
So I know just from seeing you every week, every other week with you hurting me stretching.
He's lying. He's lying. He feels good.
That all of a sudden it was pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
And pickleball to me was something like 70-year-olds like me did because they couldn't play tennis anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually watched a professional pickleball thing, and that was a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just quickly, tell me about your ascent from the
Mm-hmm.
oh, that looks like something I might want to do, to where you were before I had that conversation with you.
Yeah. Oh, before we had, okay, and then we'll go into that conversation. Yeah, that was awesome. So, pickleball, like we had the same understanding. I think most people who haven't played pickleball have the same understanding. Like, oh, that's like for old people, like my old man. No, but my dad, we talked about it so much. Pickleball, pickleball, pickleball. We're hearing it all the time, and then all of a sudden, he comes home with 4 paddles, and come to find out, they were actually like not. They were pickleball paddles, but they were like for kids or something. Like he didn't know. He just grabbed paddles, right? So then we ended up playing. We didn't know the rules, didn't know anything. Started hitting. I got that like itch of like. It wasn't that I played so good that I was like, yo, this is so fun. I want to get better. It was actually that like when I would try to hit the ball like right over the net in that corner, I would like miss it or something. And it was that disconnect of like what I wanted to do and not being able to execute it that made me want to play more and more. And then I was able, to fast forward to now, I'm like a much different player than I was back then.
So I'm guessing it was 9 months ago, something like that, when we were talking about you being a pro,
Mm-hmm.
and you were right below where you qualified to be a pro. And I said, I remember saying to you, well, it's time to start acting like a pro.
Yeah. Yeah. So that conversation was awesome. We were talking about like the tournaments, I was like, yeah, like there's this tournament, like I can enter in, like at the pro level and, this, that, and the other. And then what did you ask me? When's the tournament? And I'm like, oh, that's great. Let me check my phone. I don't know when the tournament is. And it brought it to reality, of like, okay, like, yeah, you want to like be a pro, but like the only way to be a pro is to be a pro, right? And what does that mean? Playing in the pro tournaments, signing up, going out, playing, giving it your all. So I'll share with you this. So even though I wanted to enter in at that pro level, a partner and I are playing in a mixed, it's mixed doubles. So male, female, we're playing together and we're playing one level under the professional level. And I've never played in that bracket at this prestigious tournament, which is the PPA Tour, which is like the NBA, the MLB, the NFL of the pickleball world. So we're doing in that. But then my goal and my plan is every tournament thereafter will be like at that pro level.
So yeah, I'm proud of it.
Thanks.
I came out and watched you play recently, and that was a different game. And you were one of the better players there.
Thanks.
Maybe the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let's kind of wrap up with this. And whether you're desiring to be a pickleball pro, or you're selling a product, or you're selling a service, you can get out and about in your community, in your zip code, and people will know who you are, which is important. You want people to know who you are. But for if we talk about salespeople, with all the technology we have now, you can be that guy for the world.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you don't want to be that guy for the world. You'd be wasting a lot of time and effort. But you could be the guy for the United States, or the United States and Canada, or the United States and England. And I feel like there are people that are comfortable in their little community, whatever that is for them. But there's that fear to get out of their community. Speak to what you've done or tell me what you've done, and you did it with your YouTube channel to get out of your zip code, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a great, great. Thanks for that. I would say that it comes back to one thing that you said that like I'm highlighting in my mind. I'm definitely going to write it down, but like people are way more willing to give than you are willing to ask. So like you can frame that in different ways. I would say that, with my YouTube channel, for instance, and this applies to anything. Like I shared with a friend, I said, she started a YouTube channel, and I was like, tell him about your YouTube. And she was like, oh no, like he doesn't like care, or something like that. It was just our waiter, and what I shared with her, like after in the car ride, I was like, hey, you have to be your number one fan, because nobody is gonna care more than you care. So like, why would that random guy, okay, we talked to him, we knew his name, not just a random guy, but really, why would this random guy care more about your YouTube channel than you care about your YouTube channel? So I said that to her, and that's what I utilize. Is like, I had to be so passionate about like what I was doing, and it was weird. It was like a habit, like, hey, I have this YouTube channel. People are like, oh, how many subscribers do you have? I'm like, got 14 right now, and they're like, like whatever it was, but like, who's laughing now? But I had to continue to do those things until it just became second nature, and then it was kind of like a snowball effect, right? So, just I had to get out of my bubble, my comfort zone. What is my bubble? Not only area, but like with like what I'm comfortable doing. Like if I sit, here all day, like, okay, I'm comfortable, but like how many more people can I reach? How many more people? Who knows how this can lead to that, to that, to that on that direction, and then it can flow that way. So it's like dropping the stone in the pond. It's like it doesn't only go towards the shore, or only it goes everywhere.
Yeah, changes the universe.
Changes the universe.
Yeah, well, what we do for our clients, and I believe this is what you have to do in any kind of promotion or becoming known. First off, you've got to be consistent.
No, yeah.
If you're doing it once a month, or you're doing it 3 times in a week and then not for 3 weeks, that's not going to work. You got to be consistent. The second thing is it has to be of value. It has to be credible. Tell me something I don't know, or tell me how to add to something I do know. And the third is at some point we have to ask for connection. If I want somebody to know me, at some point I've got to do whatever it is that I need to do to make that connection. I think that's what you've. Well, I'm going to get on you about your YouTube thing, but that's you're at that point. You were consistent, you were credible. you missed the connection point, and that's not a bad thing. You learn something great as a very young man. So, uh, somebody asked you 2 questions, and this is a little different because I usually ask people what would the Christian of 10 years ago tell the Christian of today, but at 13, I'm not sure it'd be very good.
Eat mac and cheese and eat ice cream.
So let me ask you the question this way: if somebody was just beginning to get on LinkedIn or just beginning to get on YouTube or wherever it is, what would you tell them? One thing. You can only tell them one thing. What would you tell them?
But it doesn't have to be one word, right?
No,
but just like one thing, one concept. That's a great question. I'm going to frame it like not your question, but like my response a little bit differently, but it will answer the question. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Right? First and foremost, why am I doing this? And I'll share from my experience with YouTube. I had to ask myself, am I doing this for the money, for the publicity, for what am I doing this for? And what I realized is that I am doing this because I enjoy not only what I'm doing, but I enjoy creating. And if I were to be in the frame of mind of I'm doing YouTube to make money, it's really hard to do it that way, I believe, because I think that the money is a byproduct of being passionate about creating.
But what I hear you saying is know your why.
Know your why. Yeah.
All right, last question. Do you have a life rule that you never break? And I've had answers from always tell the truth to don't ever get sushi at a gas station.
Wow, you're bringing me you bring me way back to the old days. No, but wow, what a great, I would say what comes to mind that sums everything up. It's really like 2 things, but trust the process and the best is yet to come.
Yeah. I would think that the best is yet to come. You can put trust the process under that. So that could be your one.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Thank you so much, Butch.
Appreciate you being on the show. Tell people where they can find you if they want to.
Yeah. So if you heard me, like we're obviously in my office right now. You can't see, it's off frame, but I do stretch therapy and assisted mobility work. So I work with, all kinds of people, athletes like Butch. He's an athlete in the game of life, and then, like pro pickleball athletes, aspiring pro soccer players, that kind of thing. If you want to contact me in regards to that, you can check out my email there. That's my email associated with my stretching. And then you heard me mention pickleball. I am a pickleball coach. I coach both indoors at a facility if you want to get out of the sun. But if you love the sun like me and you want to get out there, we can do that as well. So just go to my Instagram, which is Killeen on Instagram, and you can just shoot me a DM.
Thanks, Christian.
My pleasure.
If you'd like to reach me, the best place is probably a direct message on LinkedIn, or you can email me, and that's on LinkedIn. You can find that on LinkedIn too. If you think we can help you with something, please let us know. I know Christian would be happy to refer you to somebody in your area that does what he does. If we can't help you, if you contact me and we can't help you, I promise I know somebody who can, and I'd be happy to refer you to them. And the one thing I want you to take from this show, and Christian is an example of doing it, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And the way you get to be known is by creating content that is consistent, that's credible, and leads to connections. So thanks for being here this week, and we'll be back next Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you.